I am interested in implementing your teachings in our current educational system
Yes,
here on
if
Earth.
you want to call it that.
Do you have a timing that's good for this?
Good for what?
For starting to really implementing your teachings in our education, in our schools and universities and...
The basic metaphysical principles that we talk about are not ours. We deliver them in a specific way, yes. But the idea is that this is a basic understanding of metaphysics, a basic understanding of how existence is structured and how it works. The timing for introducing the ideas that we're talking about into your educational system, now! Why wait?
Great, thanks.
The idea is to create more interactivity for the children so that they learn by actually doing, yes? Instead of just being talked at. To allow the lessons to be adapted to what excites each child instead of attempting to adapt their excitement into the lesson. Yes?
Yes.
Teaching them the consequences of their actions and the consequences of their choices in a safe, protected environment so that they can learn the basic tools of how to manifest reality in a way that allows them to become experts at it by the time they're adults. Yes?
Yes.
These are the tools and techniques of education. So, why wait?
Okay.
Teach them that they are self-empowered. Teach them that they are as powerful as they need to be already to manifest whatever it is that is truly relevant for them in their lives in a joyful, creative, loving way without having to hurt themselves or anyone else in order to get what they need. Teach them that they are that powerful. Make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
We once told a little story about a starship that visited planets. And when they visited a planet of people who had never met them before, the people on the planet said, "Tell us about your starship. How powerful is it?" The captain of the starship said, "Well, it is so powerful that it could actually destroy your planet in the blink of an eye." The person said, "Oh, that's very powerful." But the captain said, "No, that's not what makes us powerful, though. What makes us powerful is that it has that ability and we would never use it to do that. That's what makes us powerful." Make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
The greatest power requires the gentlest touch. Because if it is that great a power, why would it need to force itself on anything? The things that truly have power, people will gravitate to. If someone attempts to force an idea on someone, they're actually saying they don't believe in the power of that idea themselves. They're actually trying to convince themselves that it has power by attempting to force it on someone else. That which is truly powerful never needs to be forced. People will find it. Teach them that and see how your world changes. Yes?
Yes.
Does this help?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, 5 years ago in 2009,
Yes.
I had an absolutely wonderful experience.
Yes.
Went out to on my balcony and I saw a huge white sphere
Oh, all right.
just outside my
Yes.
windows.
How exciting.
And then I had the experience of, in the blink of an eye, being on board this
Yes.
vessel,
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
what I think was you.
No.
No.
But something similar.
Okay. Because there were two of them.
Yes. Well, I'm not two of me.
No?
There are more of us, but again, not
Yeah.
me, but something similar.
Okay. Would you like to tell me something more about that?
You belong in that group.
Okay.
In a sense, what you were actually meeting was another version of yourself.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's wonderful.
Oh, all right.
That's great.
Thank you.
Can you be more specific of...
More specific than saying it's another version of you?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of versions of me.
There are,
Yes.
but not that look like that.
No. But in this case, what kind of people, or where were they from?
It is a hybrid race,
Yes.
an offshoot of the Yael, those that will make first contact with your planet, first open contact.
Okay. Yes.
Does that help?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Well,
Why does that help?
I feel the connection even more now, thank you.
Can you?
Maybe not. Maybe I just want to tell my story.
Why so doubtful? Why so easy to shift? From certainty to doubt. Why?
Well, sometimes it feels like a dream, and
But physical reality is a
sometime-
dream.
Yeah.
You remember that, yes?
I remember that, yes. And I
So
feel
why
that
shouldn't
more
it
and
feel like
more.
a dream?
Yeah.
Yes?
It was really a dream,
And yet,
and it was wonderful.
and it is real.
Yeah.
The dream is simply your memory of it. Yes? Your
Absolutely.
symbol of an actual encounter. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
All
I
right.
agree. I agree.
Does this help you?
It does. Thank you.
Because what will you do with this vibrational energy now? How will you apply this knowledge, this state of being in your life? How will you take this experience and apply it in your reality?
I will remember it, and I will.
Oh, that's good for a start.
Yeah.
Then what? I'm going to sit in my big overstuffed chair and remember it for the rest of my life. What else will you do with it besides just remembering it?
I will follow the passion and
You'll act on your highest excitement from that state of being?
the highest excitement.
Yes. Does that sound good to you? Yes.
It does.
And you will now do this in your life?
Absolutely.
Is there something in particular you would like to apply this to? Something that you would like to do that you held yourself back from doing?
I'm leaning into education.
You are leaning into education. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means that
You mean I'm excited about teaching? Or I'm excited about learning? Or what? What do you mean?
I'm excited about teaching. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm leaning into education. Well, that's clear as mud. I'm excited about teaching. Now that's clear as a statement, yes?
Yes.
And the clearer your statements, the clearer your path.
Absolutely.
All right, so you're excited about teaching. What, where, how?
I want to teach about higher knowledge.
Higher knowledge. Is there some knowledge that's higher than other knowledge? Is not knowledge just knowledge?
Yes.
So
If-
what do you
if
mean
it's-
when you say higher knowledge? Are you going to be teaching these confusing concepts to the people you're going to be teaching?
No, absolutely not.
Well, I'm
No,
your class right now. Teacher, what do you mean by higher knowledge? Isn't all knowledge equal?
Well, if it's true, and if it's...
Aren't all truths true from different perspectives, teacher?
Yes, that's true. Please sit down.
Is there some way I can transfer to another class? We are having fun with you.
Yes,
But
I know
the
this.
point we are making is know what you're talking about before you teach it.
Absolutely.
All right? And the best way to do that is to live it. Yes?
Yes.
So act on your excitement to the best of your ability and you will learn as you go because as a teacher, you are also a student. Yes?
Yes.
All right. And the students are also your teachers. Yes?
Absolutely.
All right. So as long as you see it in that holistic way, have fun with it. It's all right not to know something. You'll find it out. But be the best teacher you can be. And by being the best teacher you can be, you will be the best student you can be, and vice versa. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Does that
Thank
help?
you. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Bashar.
You are very welcome.
Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a good day.
Thank you for illuminating a great many things.
Thank you for allowing us to reflect back to you what you already know.
I'm aware that there are many things that I do not know or fully understand.
Well, there are many things that we don't know, but we don't know what they are.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you about. Do you and your people have other ways of exploring the things that you don't know, And if so, what are they? Or is it just the same excitement principle?
It is exactly the same excitement principle. As soon as we achieve a certain frequency, a certain level, then things we didn't know and things we didn't know suddenly come into being in our consciousness, and we recognize something that we didn't know before.
Thank you very much.
Would you like us to describe one of the things we are exploring now that we find quite fascinating?
That would be great.
As we have recently mentioned, we are now exploring beings in a reality that you might euphemistically describe as living in a universe that's inside out. We now can actually provide you with a little bit more of a description of these beings and this universe, if you wish. It's up to you.
Please.
Oh, all right. Some of this may not be completely translatable, but we will use whatever terms seem most representative to give you some kind of picture. See if you can wrap your minds around this. In your reality, in your universe, you have what you call empty space, you have planets, you have stars, and so forth. Yes?
Right.
All right. Now, imagine, if you will, if you can, that instead of empty space, you have kind of a thick gravitational fluid filling everything.
Okay.
You with me so far?
Yes.
All right. Now, in that thick gravitational fluid, there are empty spherical voids of what you would recognize as empty space. Yes?
Okay.
So instead of there being solid things in empty space, which we know is not really empty, but just for the purpose of this illustration, we're going to illustrate it this way. So instead of solid things in empty space, you have empty things in solid space. Yes?
Right.
All right. Now, however, the empty things in solid space are not like planets exactly. Imagine big hollow spheres inside this fluid. Bubbles, big bubbles. The diameter of the orbit of your planet. Yes?
Okay.
All right. That's typical. There are bigger ones, there are smaller ones, but that's average. And imagine that because of this gravitational fluid, when it encounters this void, it creates a surface, the interior surface of the bubble, so to speak, yes?
Okay.
On that surface, life can live, life can exist. Now imagine that instead of a star at the center, there is something quite different, giving life to everything that exists on the interior surface of that bubble. To describe it as a star is really very misleading. It is really more of a rotating torus, and the rotating torus, as it rotates, creates different effects, one of which is highly repulsive, one of which is highly attractive. It might be like saying it's both a white hole and a black hole. When the rotating torus at the center of the bubble is giving off, when it is a white hole giving off a force, an energy, it creates a kind of pressure that the inhabitants on the interior surface of the bubble can utilize in a magnetic gravitational way to move around. Let's describe the inhabitants first. Perhaps it will make it clearer. The inhabitants are basically spherical. They roll around on the inside surface like marbles. They have what you might call 12 thin tentacles. The tentacles are used for a variety of things, including manipulation. We won't get into that right now. Most of the structures they build are tubular. So it's like marbles rolling in tubes for someone to enter a building or leave it. Does that make sense so far?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right. They have sensors on their spherical bodies. that tell them a variety of things. They can perceive a variety of energies you have no idea of. They do have a kind of compound eye in a way that's part of the surface that allows them to have visual comprehension. They do have auditory comprehension and a variety of other senses. But as that rotating torus, that is, for lack of a better term, their sun, their star, rotates more into the idea of the black hole, then it creates an attractive energy that is very different than the repulsive energy. So you could euphemistically say that the repulsive energy is their daylight and the attractive energy is their nighttime, more or less. They have on their body an orientation of certain things that can use both the repulsive and attractive energy to move around on the inner surface. So by day, those attractors are oriented toward the rotating torus, and by night they're oriented away from it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And they can manipulate variations of that orientation to slow themselves, speed themselves up, so on and so forth.
And are these intelligent
Oh, absolutely.
beings?
Absolutely.
They have a consciousness similar to ours?
Absolutely. Well, it's expressed very differently, but in an overall sense, yes. And we are learning to communicate with them. This is a new group of beings we have never encountered before in a universe we have never encountered before.
Is that gravitational fluid you talked about similar to what we are thinking of as dark matter?
No. It is not anything that you have the ability to comprehend at this moment. Exactly. The astonishing thing about all this is that their physics is actually only very, very slightly different than the physics that you're used to. It's just that it's been rearranged in such a way as to be so completely unfamiliar in terms of a reality. But it isn't that different from your own physics. Nevertheless, the fluid is not exactly the idea of dark matter, no. It's something quite different. Does this help?
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, because we have shared this and our experience of the discovery of this reality with you, there is a little bit of that vibration coming through our energy right now to all of you. So you may interpret this in a variety of different ways after you leave this transmission. All we are actually saying is, don't be surprised if you suddenly start dreaming about a bunch of marbles rolling around all over the place. But they're not that small. Not to mislead you. Their average diameter is about 10 feet. So, pleasant dreams. Anything else?
No, that's very good. Thank you so
All right,
much.
thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And a good day.
I wanted to ask you, please, and you mentioned that in September of 2016, everything will stop.
We did not say September.
Okay.
We said, and we did not say stop.
Okay.
We said, in the fall of 2016, everything will change.
Okay. Can you please elaborate?
No. We are not allowed to elaborate.
All right. Can you please talk to us about what is happening with Mother Earth? Many different changes. Is she affecting these changes?
She is part of it.
Can you say what else is a part of it?
No.
Oh, well.
The idea is to simply for you to understand that there are an infinite number of parallel versions of Earth, yes?
Yes.
You're shifting between them all the time, yes?
Yes.
The idea of what we are saying is representative of the convergence of a number of different parallel probabilities to such an extent that we can see that it will be the seeds and the beginning of vast and different kinds of changes as you will experience it in your shifting through different versions of parallel Earths.
Okay. Thank you.
But
very
that's
much.
all we are allowed to say at this time. It will manifest itself in a variety of ways, some of which will not immediately be evident, some of which will. but there is such an overlap, such a crossing of so many probabilities for change at that time that it is inevitable that many things will change in vast ways.
All right.
You will know them when they occur, and you will not know some of them when they occur until later. But it will be a demarcation point.
Good.
Just keep living your life as best you can. Stay in the vibration of your highest passion, and whatever it is that will be experienced as a change will always and only give you a beneficial result. Yes?
Absolutely.
All right. Does
Thank
that
you.
help?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, we'll say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, thank you. Once again, we thank you for the co-creation of the interaction, the allowance of this transmission. We will now continue this transmission with the idea that we began last night of your time, called the Interstellar Enneagram, which is a representation of the vibrational permission slips that connect you to the various other civilizations that are a part of your experience on Earth, that transmit to you information, energy, to allow you to tap into experiences in those realms that are reflective of a lot of the genetic material within your own human form. And thus, because you contain that, you have the ability to utilize that sensitivity, that energetic vibrational resonance to tap into these different civilizations, utilizing whatever permission slip you wish, of course, but also being able to utilize these symbols of the various civilizations, these vibrational phone numbers, if you will. So let us continue by briefly reminding you that last night of your time, we spoke of the vibrational resonance of the bottom row of the Enneagram diagram you have in front of you, being the representation of the Anunnaki, the representation of the Orion civilization, the representation of the Grey Federation, which we covered last night of your time. Generally representing the initiation and upgrading of your genetic material into a level that would allow you to contain all of these different genetic markers from the Anunnaki, the introduction into your society of the Orion transformational vibration that allowed for magnification of your ability to transform energies from negative to positive, from dark to light, the introduction of the Grey Federation vibration, being that which came from the parallel Earth reality, to once again activate and alter genetic material, not only for the creation of hybrid civilizations such as my own, but also for the purpose of allowing you the opportunity to participate in a program and an agenda that will also allow your planet, your Earth, to go down a path that is more positive than the path the Grey civilization went down that caused them to mutate into their present form. Now, we will, this day of your time, in this transmission, talk about our own civilization a bit, of Essassani and how it relates to you, that surrounds the symbol of Earth in the center of the Enneagram. Our symbol, our vibrational phone number, our resonance being symbolized by that black background, the black triangle with the blue light coming from behind it, or the blue border as represented in this diagram. And on the right side of the Earth diagram in the center, that which represents, in general, the Yael, being the hybrid civilization that will have open contact with your civilization before all others. Now, beginning with us, we have, again, reminded you that we are the product of the Grey civilization, but we were, out of the 5 hybrid civilizations, created third. So we are in the center of that agenda. We are representative of the balance point, in a sense. And this is why it has fallen to us vibrationally and attracted us to you vibrationally to aid and assist in the dispensation of information that can create more balance within your own energy, and why many of our ships, such as my own, being positioned above the area on your planet you call Sedona, Arizona, will connect vibrationally to different vortices around your world and aid and assist in the flow of energy through those vortices, through those gateways, those doorways, those energy portals to different dimensions, to help balance the energy on your world so that you can take full advantage of your ability to transform in what might be called a buffered environment, a safe environment that will allow you the freedom to choose which way to go, the freedom to explore your themes as you have chosen them in the most positive, the most balanced way possible. Now, again, there are many of us positioned above these vortices in different places on your planet, aiding and assisting with the balancing of the energy and the dissemination of this information that, when taken into your consciousness, when applied in your physical reality, will allow you to accelerate yourselves very specifically in a very similar vibrational direction that our society has taken, that has led us to the place that we are now in our evolution, where we are approaching the concept of and experiencing the concept of transmutation, transition from physical to non-physical reality. At this point, we call ourselves quasi-physical beings. We can present ourselves in a physical way, and yet at the same time we exhibit many of the qualities of the idea of spirit. As you now go from your transition from third density to fourth density physical reality, we are transitioning from fourth density physical reality to fifth density non-physical reality, but we are still at the balance point in the center. And this balancing act, this balancing energy that we are experiencing is what allows us to deliver to you the same kind of balancing vibration, so that you can find yourselves in that neutral position, in the trinity position between the duality, between the polarity, negative, positive, dark and light, limitation and freedom, and give yourself the opportunity, by being in that balanced vibration, by matching the balancing frequency we are giving off through the channel's body, to neutralize all events in your life, to see the idea of situations and circumstances in a neutral observational way, to give you the opportunity to interject the meaning that you prefer into these situations and therefore extract the benefit from them that you desire, that you prefer, rather than experiencing what you have been experiencing for thousands of years on your planet, which is the automatic assumption of negativity in certain circumstances that then only allows you to experience the negative effect from them. The idea of recognizing that we are the third hybrid race created tells you that by being in that balanced state, we can pave the way for the other hybrid races to interact with you in the appropriate order. Now, the idea of the Yael, or in our ancient language, the Shalanaya, which simply means the first ones, will be that they were created last of the 5 hybrid races. And in being created last, in being, in a sense, the newest version to be created, they are more similar to your human beings than we are, and much more similar to your human beings than the first hybrid race is. So in that sense, that is why they will be the first ones you will meet, so as to buffer your experience of extraterrestrial contact with a civilization that has a lot of similarity to you. So it will not be too alien for you to assimilate the idea of interacting with them. In time, you will meet the other hybrid races. We, again, in the balanced position, in the center point, being the third hybrid race created, will be the third race that you will encounter of the hybrids. Now, as you can see on the right side of the center block, which is the Earth block, being that of the black background and the blue square, the green square, the white square, which represents your Earth vibrationally from our point of view, from our particular matrix, from our permission slip creation, you will notice the idea of the triangle within the circle that represents specifically the Yael. Now, there has been a little bit of confusion about the idea of this symbol, and many of you remember that when asked previously about the idea of the vibrational phone number or symbol for the Yael, we gave you a black background with a white pentagram and a green dot in the center. This is a symbol for the Yael, but it is the symbol of the Yael relative to the 5 hybrid races. Now we are giving you their specific vibrational phone number, not connected to the idea of the 5 hybrid races. In time, you will see in the Enneagram that is to the right that says new hybrids, this will contain first and foremost the idea of the symbol of the white pentagram with the green dot for them, but that is representative of their relationship to the other hybrid races as well. And you will find that the next one will be represented by the black background, the white pentacle, the white pentagon, if you wish, with a gold dot in the center. We in the center are represented by the white pentagon with the blue dot in the center. The second hybrid race to be created, the 4th that we are mentioning, will be represented by the white pentagon with the violet dot in the center. And the first hybrid race to be created, the ones that are more closely associated and more similar to the grays, will be represented by the white pentagon with a black dot in the center. Eventually, as the Earth becomes the 6th hybrid race, that will be represented vibrationally by a black background with a hexagon, with a violet dot in the center. And as it evolves, that violet dot will turn into a 6-pointed violet star. And as the 6th hybrid race reaches its pinnacle and blends with the other hybrid races in a specific way, energetically, it will become what we have termed the 7th hybrid race, which will be represented by the visual symbol, the vibrational symbol of a black background, a white hexagon, and a black 6-pointed star in the center, which will be vibrationally representative of their connection to space-time itself, and will result in a race of beings that will be very, very vibrationally powerfully connected to the very essence of space-time, and will function in a way that no other race we are aware of has ever functioned before. That will take place in what you call the far future. Nevertheless, right now, being that we are on one side of you vibrationally and the Yael are on the other side, we act to give vibrational stability in the center to the Earth plane, to the Earth experience, to the Earth vibration, so that the transformational experiences you are going through now, the discovery of more of yourselves that you are going through now, can be stabilized by our respective vibrations on either side of you, in a sense walking hand in hand, arm in arm, 3 abreast, you being in the center in this way, and allowing you the opportunity to really open up to more of yourself, more experiences, more doorways, more portals, to more things to come, while at the same time, by living more in the now, living more in the present, allowing yourself to also experience changing your past as well as your so-called future. Because again, please remember, as each and every one of you becomes a different person from moment to moment to moment, you have not only the idea of a change in your so-called future, but as you become a different person, you have changed your history as well, your past as well, to represent the linear past that would have had to happen in order to create the person you are today, just looking at it from a linear perspective. So our civilization and the Yael civilization are helping with your ability to stay focused in the center, neutralize everything, input the meaning that you prefer, and allow yourselves to begin to actually experience the shifting in a much more visceral way, in a much more conscious way that you're going through all the time, so that you can more consciously and intentionally determine the direction of your flow through the billions of parallel versions of Earth that you go through every single second, so that you can make greater leaps, so to speak, greater differences, and begin to experience the rate at which you've always been shifting, but experience that more consciously, and determine for yourselves the idea of the kind of reality experience that you prefer. In addition to what we and the Yael are doing in that way, we are also representative, and they are also representative of the hybrid children that have been created through this program, through this hybridization agenda of the creation of the 5 civilizations. And in that we are all blending together, you, us, the Yael, for the purpose of propelling your civilization towards the transformation into the 6th hybrid race. These hybrid children will eventually be brought down to Earth in ships, as we have said, living in enclaves that are safe on your planet, remote in a way that allow them to acclimate to your society, as your society also simultaneously acclimates to them, and begins to get used to the idea of the evolutionary transformation taking place upon your planet that will allow you to go down a path of creative joy and passion and ecstasy, and transform you and unlock the genetics within you that you contain to all these different civilizations in a way that will allow you to become, over time, more and more expressive of the hybridization that exists within you from the very beginning. Because when the Anunnaki interjected and introduced their genetic material into Homo erectus and created Homo sapien, they already contained many different kinds of genetic strains that are within you all. So you're already hybridized to a great degree. But this is the time, and this is the day, and this is the age when the switches are being thrown, switches are being flipped genetically within you to allow you more ability to express the different vibrational frequencies in these different genetic matrices that exist within your makeup, so that you can truly align with those that are most representative of your potential, of your ability to experience reality as a dream in a way that makes it more flexible, more malleable, that allows you to really manifest more consciously, more intentionally, by allowing who you truly are to come to the forefront and taking your place between our civilization and the civilization of the Yael as the melting pot and the crucible in which the 6th hybrid race shall be formed, shall be created out of the essence of your beings. And we thank you for your willingness to participate. We thank you for laying the foundation. We thank you for providing the material that will allow us all together to create an experience of ascension in ways that you can barely imagine at this time. Your world, very quickly, in years to come, after open contact occurs with the Yael, will begin to accelerate in ways that will allow you very rapidly to transform yourself and shift yourself to parallel versions of Earth that are really far more representative of what you dream the Earth can be, because that dream does exist. That dream is real. It exists right now, and all you need to do is shift yourselves to that frequency in order to experience the reflection of that reality. And it is us bracketing you in this way, and your willingness to open up to the energy and information that we are sharing with all of you, that will, along with your agreement to participate in this program, begin to propel you in that direction vibrationally and energetically. And once again, we thank you for the gift that you are giving us in experiencing this transformation through your eyes. So, in all of these things that we share with you about this Enneagram and all of the different symbols that are representative of these different civilizational vibrations that you're tapping into and drawing upon informationally and energetically in your transformation as you go through your daily lives, allow yourselves to really play with these symbols, meditate on them, play with them. They are permission slips. Allow your imagination to do with them what feels natural, what you're most attracted to do. Align with them. And allow yourself to begin to feel the opening of the energy within you, the flipping of the switches within your genetic makeup, so that you can really begin to experience your reality in a very magical way, because that is what your reality is. Remember that you are always in spirit, and you are just simply dreaming that you're not. So you're going to find, by focusing on many of these symbols and these vibrations and awakening these energies within you, that you're going to become far more lucid in the physical dream than ever before. And that will truly, truly transform your life in miraculous, magical, and mystical ways. Allow yourselves to dive into the mystery, for there is far more underlying these symbols than we are telling you right now. We have only scratched the surface. Things will open up within you as you focus on these permission slips, and you will be astonished at what you will discover within yourselves. In tomorrow's transmission, we will thus proceed to describe the relationships that you have to the Sirius civilization, the Arcturus energy, and the Pleiadian civilization, and furthermore explain the diagrams that bracket this Enneagram in the center with regard to the hypersapien, the reptilian, the proto-sapien, and again the new hybrids, painting an entire picture in these three parts that will complete the vibrational resonance of the entire permission slip and give you maximum advantage, maximum opportunity for acceleration into more and more of your true preferred self and experiencing the reflections of that in your physical dream. In return now for this opportunity you are giving to us in having this experience with you, how may we now serve you with your questions and dialogue and exchange?
Okay, and I've heard you speak about how physical reality is a mirror and how we sometimes hold on to beliefs that are not ours. Can you go into more detail about this? If physical reality is a mirror, how did beliefs not reflective of my core frequency come from others in my society? I'm trying to reconcile you get what you give, or what you put out is what you get back.
We have just explained this. The idea is that reflections, even though you're using that word, are not one-to-one reflections as in a literal mirror. The idea is to understand that you can attract someone into your life who may be completely vibrationally incompatible with what you prefer because you are willing to assist them. The reflection is they're giving you an opportunity to reflect your willingness to be of assistance in providing them other options other than the paths and the choices that they may be taking or making. So don't confuse the idea of the word reflection for the concept that someone coming into your life who doesn't operate or make choices the same way you do is actually representative of what you're doing. That's not often the case. They may simply be representative of your willingness to be of assistance to them to help them take another path. So reflection doesn't mean absolute one-to-one reflection.
So in a sense, would you say that when anything comes into our life or a person comes into our life and we get a certain reflection, the important thing is first to check in with your own belief systems about whether or not, if you're getting a negative reflection, whether or not the information being shared with you about you is really true.
Yes.
Or if it's a projection of the other person's consciousness.
Yes.
And by doing this, it strengthens your understanding of who you are. And without those kinds of other reflections that I'm describing, you would not be as clear or pushed as far to express your truth.
Yes, the willingness to at first, number one, see if what is being offered to you is something that can aid you, assist you, be applied to you, to improve you, to better you. And number two, if not, then the realization that it might be the other person's issue and they have come to you because they sense that you could possibly reflect to them what they need to change themselves, even though they may or may not choose that, is what gives you better discernment about what is yours and what is not yours. So the willingness to at first think about whether what they're offering you is yours or not helps you with the discernment to be able in the future to tell the difference between what is truly yours and what is an issue being projected by another person that has really nothing to do with you other than perhaps their ability to sense that you could be of assistance by listening to them and helping them make other choices other than the ones that they are choosing.
And in addition to that idea of when someone is offered something that's diminishing
Yes.
of their value or their worth, And then they are challenged at that moment whether to accept the idea that they're not worthy or to reject it because they know it's just can't be true. I mean, it's not, the inherent value of a person is there regardless of how they behave.
Yes.
And then once you have that level of clarity, it becomes easier to discern whether you're being gaslighted or something like that by another person.
Yes, this is why it is so important to understand the fundamentals, the very idea that you are worthy on the fact of your existence, deserving on the fact of your existence, because creation doesn't make mistakes. Therefore, if you exist, you are a valued part of existence. You are a worthy part of existence. Otherwise, you wouldn't exist if you weren't needed by existence to exist in order for existence to be all that it is. So when you have a clear understanding of the fundamentals of the basics of your worth, just by the fact that you exist, then everything else can be easier to discern because you start from a basis of indestructibility, of certainty, of confidence, of knowingness, and then all the rest is secondary.
And when individuals receive negative reflections from their immediate family or the people that are close to them, it seems to them it carries more power in some way because apparently that person's opinion of your value is more important. I mean, is there something you could say about that idea of just making a difference between the people who are close to you if they say things to you that upset you, or if it's a total stranger, how we react to that
All right.
in a balanced way?
Yes. But first and foremost, let us provide another level of clarity to the language that you're using. Because we understand that the word reflection can be confusing, and this is why we're attempting to clarify the idea. Perhaps it would be better for people to understand, again, if they're willing to really look at themselves first, to understand that there is a difference between reflection and projection. So the idea is to learn the difference, to discern the difference between what is being reflected to you that you need to know about yourself and what is being projected to you from another that is more reflective of their issue rather than yours. So let's add the idea of projection to the concept of reflection, and that usage of those two words may make it easier to discern which is which. But the idea in family lines is because you have an innate feeling or an innate connection to them out of love, because family represents the idea of connections of love and support, that you add that connection, you add that idea of love and support, and it makes you take what they're saying more differently than you would with a stranger where you assume no love is coming from them. So it is the actual connection of love that you have that makes you more susceptible to the idea of receiving whatever projections they may be projecting onto you that represent their issues, because you're willing to look at yourself more readily and assume more readily that they may be right about you, even if they're not, because of the connection you feel of love to them, because of the family connection.
And when it comes from a family member, then it kind of gives you an opportunity for different levels of processing. One is, are you having an emotionally reactive response to any diminishment that you've received from a family member?
Yes.
And on another level, maintaining that state of neutrality, which is a higher vibrational state, in order to ensure that the way that you respond to the person that is projecting in that way is a way that will be helpful to them or give them the opportunity to change without having it activated by strong emotions or revenge or getting back at them because they've hurt you, that kind of thing.
Yes. But the idea is that, to put it euphemistically, a pause is your friend. Silence is your friend as a response, because it gives you the time to consider why they may be saying what they're saying, instead of simply having an automatic reaction that has tapped into your sense of self-worth or lack thereof. So if you find that you're reacting, it would always be wise to pause and say nothing and give yourself an opportunity to mull over why they have said what they have said. And in the silence, you may find it easier to discern whether or not what they have said is something you do need to take to heart to improve yourselves, or at least a part of it is, or whether it is purely their issue. So the idea is to learn to pause when you feel yourself reacting to something. Don't immediately respond. Take a moment of silence and ask yourself, why is this person saying this to me? Why am I reacting the way I am reacting? Is there something I need to look at within myself because I'm reacting negatively to this? Because I'm reacting out of fear or worry or self-doubt? And then give yourself the opportunity to really learn to hone your discernment in the silence that you give yourself, to afford yourself the time to determine exactly what is going on instead of immediately reacting, what you humans call a knee-jerk reaction.
And in terms of the balanced response to it, when you finally do respond, can you clarify a little bit more about the kinds of attitudes you would have towards the individual when you finally do re-engage in some way?
Well, again, it would be one of more compassion and curiosity for why they said what they said, and asking them, why are you feeling what you're feeling? What has brought this up in you? Can you give me an understanding more clearly of why you are saying what you are saying and where that's coming from? Because I want to be of assistance here. I want to learn who it is you are and why you're feeling what you're feeling, why you're saying what you're saying, because I love you and I wish to be of assistance in clarifying the communication between us. Now, whether or not you actually say all of that, that's the attitude, that's the energy, that's the state of being of compassion and curiosity that expresses itself as a desire to assist, to get to the bottom of why something has been said and what the real issue is. Because very often when people say things, it is a surface reaction, and that there is a deeper issue that really needs to be clarified and revealed and unveiled.
And the idea that if you discern that the energy that's being projected towards you is negative, how do we respond to understanding that while incorporating what you just said?
I just told you how.
So you recognize that it's negative.
Of course, because you have the reaction to it, or if you are neutral, you simply recognize it is vibrationally not compatible with the truth that you understand yourself to be. So you either have the negative reaction, the negative response, or you have the neutral recognition. And in that, you still maintain the silence for a moment, maybe even for a few heartbeats. Have the curiosity and compassion to say, all right, I hear what you're saying. I recognize that you have this feeling, but if you can, please explain to me where this feeling comes from, what you think is happening here, what it is you believe that has happened that is allowing you to react this way, to tell me what you have told me. So it is, again, whether it is actually said that way or not, the state of being that you need to come from in order to respond in a more positive way and a more constructive way, and to get at the bottom of, the root of why someone may have said what they have said, why they have felt the way they have felt, why they have reacted the way they have reacted, because it's usually representative of a much deeper issue than the one that they're calling out.
Helpful. I think that's a nice in-depth exploration of reflections for sure. So thank you for that.
Yes, there is always some need within them that is not being met, and it may have nothing to do with what they're saying. You have to find out what is the basic need that is not being met in this individual that they would lash out or project in that way. It is usually, again, about issues of not being or feeling loved or not feeling worthy or deserving or something along that line, fundamentally, that would cause an individual to project onto another what it is that they feel they are incapable of giving themselves. and resenting what another individual may remind them of in terms of their inability to not give that to themselves.
I'm sure if we all apply this, the people on Earth would get along a lot better.
Yes, they would.
You've talked about the value as individuals of remaining in the neutral point between the positive and the negative, as it allows all viewpoints to be valid. Can this be applied by the collective itself? If so, can you describe some aspects of what that would look like on Earth?
Well, it would be what I have described as the civilization on my world, that is operating on pure synchronism, is telepathically bonded in unconditional love, and experiences the idea of clarity every single moment while we are walking through a multidimensional dream. That is how you would experience it on Earth were you to evolve to that point.
And how does the idea of the collective consciousness work with the idea that we are constantly navigating to different vibrational versions of Earth? How is it possible for us to continually shift into different realities while simultaneously being part of a collective?
Because consciousness is everywhere. Remember that you're dealing, when you shift, not only with your own individual consciousness, with the collective consciousness of your world, but with the collective consciousness of all that is on different levels of expression. So the idea is that consciousness is everywhere. There is no place that consciousness is not. So you simply adapt a different form, a different expression of consciousness, and utilize connections to all levels of consciousness while you experience the shifting.
Okay, and can you expand on the idea of raising our frequency in relation to our sun? I understand that different versions of Earth have the same sun, and although Willa lives on a different version of Earth, that version still circles around the same sun as our version of Earth.
No, it does not. When you shift completely into a completely different universe. Completely different. It may look the same, but it's not the same. So no, when you shift, you are not orbiting the same star.
Okay.
Just as you are on a different version of Earth, you are in a different version of the universe with different stars that, again, may look similar, but those are the stars of that universe.
Okay. So this person is asking about the Anunnaki.
Yes.
She says, once I had a clairvoyant interaction with a feminine entity, which I think is an Anunnaki woman. I think she is that because of the way she was way ahead of Willa in terms of frequency and non-physicality, but still as human as one can get. It was the experience that made me understand that there is much more to reality. Is that entity in that role my most probable future life experience? And in what way were you and Willa connected to her on her paths?
It is a probable future life experience, as you term these things linearly, because you are focusing on it and experiencing a connection to it. So it can be possibly a future self. Our connection, Willa, is representative of your Earth when the sixth hybrid race is fully forming. My connection as the third hybrid race is part of the union of all the hybrid races, so that when Earth becomes the sixth hybrid race, we all blend together to become the seventh.
Okay, and recently you shared a meditation technique for ringing the bell at Bell Rock, and I've meditated there in the past. Since I live at a distance, I'm curious if replicating the experience in my mind while meditating at home produces the same effect, or is it less effective than when it's done remotely?
It depends upon your understanding of time and space and your belief system. Since distance is an illusion, if you truly understand that, then your meditation at home can be just as effective as actually being in present with Bell Rock, because you would understand that at home and in present is no different if you understand that distance is an illusion.
So it's all dependent on your belief system.
And your understanding of time and space.
And space. Okay, and this person's asking about the Mitchell-Hedges skull. They were in a private session with the Mitchell-Hedges skull, and they brought their clear crystal skull to absorb the energy of the Mitchell-Hedges skull. How much information does one crystal skull absorb from another? And what kind of information can a crystal skull reflect back to you?
All the information that is absorbed and all the information that is reflected to any particular individual is all the information that is relevant for that individual's life path. It doesn't necessarily absorb all of the information in a master skull like the Mitchell-Hedges skull, but it will absorb everything that is relevant for the individual connected to the skull that is doing the absorbing.
Okay, and can you give us a little guidance on making sense of our dreams? And the way this is expressed is, how can we make more sense of them even when they seem completely random and easy to discount?
Well, again, remember, there are different kinds of dreams. Sometimes if you're having an experience out of body, your physical mind will use whatever symbols make sense to it to represent or symbolize the experience you had, but there may not necessarily always be enough symbols or enough representative symbols to make complete sense out of what was going on a different level of reality. So sometimes the dream can be highly symbolic, and if you have an understanding of the symbols and how you relate to those symbols, sometimes even understanding that you are everything in the dream and what those symbols mean to you as different aspects of yourself being reflected back to you and what they symbolize to you about different components of your consciousness, then you will have a clearer understanding of what the dream, quote unquote, means to you.
So I guess that can help when people do like dream journals and they start keeping track of the different symbols that repeatedly show up in their dreams.
Yes, even if they don't repeatedly show up, you can still have a relationship to a symbol by meditating on what the symbol represents to you.
And that can be especially true when you wake up in the morning before you fully come out of the dream state?
Yes, it is easy to remember the dream if you stay with it and not just jump out of bed. Another way to look at it is if you have any proficiency with any other divination system, like tarot cards or such, you can start treating the dream symbols in the same way that you would treat the symbols on a tarot card or any other divination system.
That sounds interesting. This question is, can you define observations, perspectives, opinions, and judgments?
Observations are neutral. Perspectives are your particular point of view that can still be neutral. Judgments, in the way that typically humans mean that, usually goes into some sort of adding your opinion, your belief, a perspective that may or may not be positive or negative into the mix of your observation. In other words, judgments and opinions represent the filtering of observations through your particular belief system, whether it's positive or negative, as to what it is you are observing, what your perspective of it is. Perspective can sometimes already be representative of a filtering through your belief system, which is why you have that perspective, although there are neutral perspectives as well. So basically, observations can be neutral. Perspectives can be neutral, but can be representative of filtering through a belief. Judgments and opinions are usually representative of filtering an observation through a belief system, whether positive, neutral, or negative.
We were going to talk about self-worth, we're not sure we're worthy enough to talk about that. So you see what happens when you are in that state of being, of feeling that you lack self-worth. You deprive others of what you have to give. You're not giving the gifts that you were meant to give in your world, that others are waiting to receive from you. As we have said many times, if there is something that excites you, something that you have to give, some way of expressing your true self, there will always be someone waiting to receive that from you. And by feeling or believing that you are not worthy, not deserving of acting on your passion, you are actually holding back those things that others are waiting to receive, that they may need in their lives. Each and every one of you has something to give, has something of benefit, of service to others, that is simply representative of nothing more complicated than being your true self and expressing that truth in whatever way, shape, or form excites you the most, is most representative of your peace, your balance, your passion, your joy. Holding back on that also then allows you to feel diminished, devalued. The idea, of course, of believing that you are unworthy, as we have said from time to time, is proven to be false by the fact of your existence. For again, creation does not make mistakes, and if you were truly unworthy, you would not exist. So if you exist, which you do, or you wouldn't be hearing this, then creation must need you to. You must be that important, or all that is couldn't be all that it is, or all that it could be without you. So you are worthy on the most basic level by the fact of your existence itself. And any time that you buy into the idea that you are not worthy of your life, not worthy to be who you truly are, who you know yourself to be, who you prefer to be, not worthy, not deserving to live your dreams, then you are engaging, as we have said, in an argument with creation that you will never win, because you will never cease to exist. That is simply not possible. Existence is your basic quality, to be. And therefore, that basic worthiness, if you can understand that from that level, can begin to filter into the rest of your life and all the expressions of your true self that are reflective of your natural existence, of who you are as the unique individual you have been created to be. But if you buy into the idea of lack of self-worth, there are many different kinds of symptoms that will happen, many different kinds of expressions that will come from that negative belief about yourself. First and foremost, of course, the ones that seem most obvious is that you can experience what you call depression, which is again the negative view of what the natural state is, which is simply compression, which means you withdraw into the center of your being where you know the answers lie when you cannot find them outside. That's a natural experience. But if you negate it, if you give it a negative definition, then it becomes the experience of depression, as if something is wrong about going within. If you allow it to be the natural experience of compression, you will simply find the answers you seek. You will then emerge having redefined yourself as a new person. But again, buying into lack of self-worth may allow you to experience this as depression. And of course, people in that state can experience other side effects, not only mentally, emotionally, such as suicidal thoughts, but the idea also of physically causing dis-ease within yourselves, to manifest the idea of how you see yourself, to create a reflection in the outer reality, the physical reality, representation, and symbol of how you see yourself energetically, spiritually. However, the idea is that you will always generally find that most people, even with the idea of lack of self-worth as a belief system, will attempt in some way, shape, or form to validate themselves. The only difference will be that if you actually are holding on to a belief that you lack worth, you will attempt all that validation outwardly instead of inwardly. You will not know how to validate yourself on your own. So you will seek it, if you seek it at all, through the idea of an exterior expression. This kind of insecurity about yourself leads to a polarized expression of the ego. And in fact, those that are the most insecure, the most connected to the concept of lack of self-worth, will express their ego in a very exaggerated way to counterbalance and make up for the fact that they don't actually believe they're worthy. So they will attempt to express worthiness through the aggrandizement and amplification and blowing up of their ego, and express themselves in a very egotistical, very often narcissistic way. This should be the first clue that they really don't have self-value in mind, because they are attempting to create an expression of it, but it's, in a sense, an act. And they don't really believe in what they are saying, in what they are doing, in what they are expressing. They just don't want anyone else to know that they feel worthless. So they will put on a front, and they will seek many times, again, as a symptom that you can recognize in life, the idea of outside validation over and over and over again, requiring quite often the idea of others to validate them, because they do not spend the time to validate themselves. So they will, in the sense, become very needy. Very often will be one of the strong symptoms, requiring constant validation from those around them, since they will not give it to themselves. This will, of course, create secondary negative effects in any form of relationship that they may find themselves in, because they will always be only relying on others to create the sense of worth that they simply deny themselves. So you can look for these symptoms and understand that it is coming from a place where they do not feel valued and do not know how to give themselves the idea of self-valuation, self-appreciation, to the degree that if they don't get it from others, if they don't, in some sense, insist on it from the outer reflection, they will feel empty, bereft, abandoned. But then another side effect of that, because they will awesomely be in denial of the idea that they are lacking worth, because they don't want to face that, is they will project onto others the idea that they are being abandoned, not being supported, not being valued by others, because they cannot face the fact that they are not valuing themselves, because they believe themselves not to be worthy of value. But they are in denial of the fact that they are doing that to themselves, so they will always project it on others who are not then willing to do it for them. These are symptoms as well of that self-devaluation, that lack of self-worth as a belief. So look for these symptoms and understand with compassion that such people may or may not be willing to receive new tools, new understandings of how they can know that they are valuable, know that they are worthy, know that they belong in creation, and begin to see themselves in a way where they don't require constant reminders from those around them of how valuable they are, constant reassurance from those around them that they are worthy. For that will not be a reflection that can last a long time. For others will sense that it is coming from a place of non-belief in what those people are saying to them. So even when someone might say, yes, you are worthy, yes, you have value, yes, I recognize these things about you, because they are in denial of it within themselves, they may not actually even buy it from other people, though they may act like they do, or act like they really need it, but they may not really still believe it. And thus they create a downward spiral of negativity that acts in many ways like what you would call a black hole in space, sucking up all the light, all the benefit, all the value they are given from others, to the point where others begin to realize that they cannot give them enough value. They cannot, in any way, shape, or form, validate them enough. And therefore, they recognize that since all of that reflection is really just disappearing within that person and never actually being put to use in the sense of strengthening that person's ability to know that they are worthy, know that they are valuable, the outside reflection will eventually usually stop. And it will then thrust the person devaluing themselves into an even deeper downward spiral that can again lead to the concepts of depression, senses of abandonment, suicidal thoughts, and all of those things that go with not being able to support the self, not knowing how to believe what others are telling them, and needing others to do it because they will not do it for themselves. So take note in your lives, in relationships, when individuals are removing the platform from under their own feet, not able in their own minds to really stand, not able to give themselves the valuation that they truly need, constantly asking for recognition for everything that they may do, instead of giving themselves the recognition in a humble way and being of service to others. Allow yourselves more awareness, more conscious perception, and by all means, should you come across individuals devaluing themselves in that way, by all means share with them that they do not have to do so. By all means share with them that there are tools by which, and ideas and beliefs by which they can know that they are valuable, know that they are worthy, but also allow yourselves to recognize that unconditional love is not about continuing to support a vibration that is incompatible with your preference beyond a certain point. The most unconditionally loving thing you can do sometimes is to demonstrate the consequence of another person's choice. And it may not be what they prefer, but it may be what they're telling you needs to happen. Because if you do not give them a reflection of the consequence of what they are choosing for themselves, you give them no opportunity to change, no reason to change. It doesn't mean they will change, but at least give them a reason to. For if they want to remain in a relationship with you, by being given a clear reflection of the consequence of constantly devaluing themselves and constantly needing others to validate them, by showing them that you can no longer do so because it's actually not in their best interests for you to continue to support the negative behavior, you at least give them an opportunity to recognize that they may need to change if they wish to maintain the relationship with the real you and not with who they actually insist that you must be, because that is not being in a relationship with who you really are. So we would always encourage you not to reinforce the negativity, but to let them know there is always an opportunity to know how valuable they are, how worthy they are, and to give themselves what they need. And the irony and the paradox in this is that when a person does, in fact, humbly value themselves, they will often find that others will value them quite often. And they will see the reflections of their self-valuation in your reality and in their reality. So, use the power of the paradox to allow them to know that what they truly need will be given to them, ironically, when they don't need it, in a needy way. Because everyone needs validation. Everyone needs to know they are worthy and deserving. Everyone needs to know that. But the point is to know that by the fact of your existence, you are worthy, you are validated, you are deserving. And when you can stand in that certainty and stand in that awareness and stand in that knowingness, you will get the reflections that you need of that worthiness, of that validity. It will simply be the reflection of the energy you're giving off. Because when you shine, the mirror has something to reflect back. But when, like a black hole, you suck in all the light, there is nothing that can be reflected to you because you're giving nothing off that is representative of that validity, of that worthiness. Does this make sense to you? All right. So, just bear it in mind, keep it in mind, pay attention. Let your senses be aware of when you are seeing these symptoms. Do your best to assist, but not at the expense of your own worthiness. For that is never helpful nor loving to anyone.